University of Utah, head coach Larry Kraskowiak, student athletes Jakob Podol, Brandon Taylor, and DeLon Wright. Congratulations on advancing to the Sweet 16, Coach. Your opening comments.
Just a little bit surreal at this point. I thought our guys, it's tremendous. We got down 10 or 12 points early in the game, and it wasn't looking good. They hit a bunch of threes, and we came out of the locker room a little bit sluggish, and a little perseverance, and managed to tie it up at halftime. And we had a couple of goals in the game, which we managed to gain, which were less than 10 turnovers, as we turned it over so much against Stephen F. Austin the other night, and we knew we couldn't defend turnovers against this team, so our goal was less than 10. I wrote it on the board, and for us to get 9 turnovers I thought was huge, and then we also rebounded them by a couple of rebounds. So key points to the game that I thought really kept us in it. So pleased to be here and ready to rock and roll with some questions.
Open it up now to questions for the student athletes.
Kurt Cragthorpe, Salt Lake Tribune. Brandon, just to get to this point, what it's like for the program?
Like Coach said, it's surreal. It's surreal. It's a feeling that I've never felt before, and I'm just super proud, and I'm happy for our team. You know, we worked so hard in the summertime, and we've worked so hard, and to be rewarded like how we are right now and going on to the Sweet 16 is just amazing. It's an amazing feeling. It feels good.
Feels great.
Annie,
Brandon,
name and affiliation.
Oh, Annie Peterson from the Associated Press. Brandon, did you, at the beginning of the season, did you imagine that something like this would happen to you guys?
I knew we were due at the beginning of the season. I definitely knew. I just didn't know how the feeling would be. I didn't know how the feeling would be, but I definitely envisioned it, and I seen it. I seen it because I think we had the right personnel. We put the work in. You know, we put the work in, and I just couldn't imagine the feeling. If you never experienced something, you couldn't really imagine it until you really be a part of it. You know, so to experience it now, I'm lost for words, honestly.
Josh Furlong, KSL.com. DeLon, what was it like for you to be able to know that this could potentially be your last game, but now to have that opportunity to be able to go to Sweet 16 and continue to prove how talented you guys are?
It's been, I just try not to think about it, think about it not being my last game. I did think about it sometimes, like this could be my last half, but, I had faith that we were going to come together and, play better in the second half, which we did, and we were able to get the win.
Stephen Alexander, Portland Tribune. Brandon, you guys shot incredibly well throughout the night. How were you able to do that, and what were the keys there?
Taking great shots, taking good shots, and with this team is once we take pride in taking good shots, and when we take good shots, they tend to fall in, and sometimes they don't. But our motto is really the next play, moving on to the next play, and if shots aren't falling, we have to lock down defensively, and we know that the rim will open up sooner or later.
Josh Furlong, KSL.com. Jakob, how difficult was it to match up with Joshua Smith and some of the other bigs that they had?
Well, it is obviously pretty hard. He's a really big dude. It's hard to move him around in the paint. But I tried my best. I tried to use my advantages against him, maybe like my quickness, and try to be tall and do my best.
James Kelly, Daily Wildcat. DeLon, what are your thoughts on the Pac-12 being so successful this tournament?
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
What are your thoughts on the Pac-12 success this tournament?
I can't understand you.
What are your thoughts on the Pac-12 success?
Sorry about that. It's good to see that everyone's doing well. I don't think that people across the country kind of respect the Pac-12 like they should be. But I hope that everybody does well and continues to do well.
Kyle Goon, Salt Lake Tribune. Delon, I was wondering, obviously you thought about going to the NBA. What does it mean to you to kind of come back and kind of get far in this tournament and do something memorable?
It means a lot. If I would have left, I wouldn't have got this opportunity to, come back and play in the NCAA tournament. So, now that I'm here and, we're going to the Sweet 16, it makes me more happy with my decision. And I just couldn't be more happy with the team's success.
Lindsay Schnell, Sports Illustrated. Dallin just told us in the hallway that if you had told him a few years ago when he was being recruited that you guys would go to the Sweet 16, he would have laughed in your face. I'm curious, did you have a similar reaction when you were being recruited and Coach was talking about the future?
No, I wouldn't have laughed. I think that I had a lot of trust in our coaching staff, doing a good job recruiting, and just trusting our team. And I think that we're doing really well, and we want to continue to do well. So that's pretty much.
Yeah, Dylan, Jeff Eisenberg with Yahoo Sports. Just wondering, can you explain kind of your mindset for how you decide when to look for your own shot and when to set up stuff for your teammates?
I don't know. I never really think about it. I kind of think about just attacking, and I kind of read the defense. If they're coming to me, I'll try to bait them into coming to me so I can dish off to a teammate. And if they kind of stay to one of my teammates, I'll kind of take my shot. So it's just kind of playing a mind game kind of with the defense. Yeah, I hear that a lot. A lot of people would tell me that, but I'd rather the team is doing well with me being like that. So sometimes I just have to continue doing that.
Lauren Spencer with ESPN 700. Brandon, yesterday you had said that this tournament meant business for you. And so what is your business plan moving forward with the upcoming games?
Our business plan? Getting back home and getting some rest first, and resting up and taking care of our bodies, and jumping back into practice and preparing for either San Diego State or Duke. They're two great teams and well respected around the country, and we know we have to come dialed in and hopefully get a win and go to Houston and get a win in Houston.
Kyle Goon, Salt Lake Tribune. Brandon, we saw you take some pretty deep threes today, and including one. I remember shot clock was running down. How is your confidence in your shot, especially after SFA and kind of a tough game there?
Sometimes I kind of get in my head a little bit, and if the first shot or the first two shots don't go in, I tend to psych myself out and start thinking about the next shots and probably going to miss that next shot, and then start shooting myself out of the game. And I don't think I did that this game. I think I passed up some looks. My coaches just told me shoot open shots, and have confidence. And my coaches have all the confidence in the world in me shooting, and that's just something I have to do and continue to do.
Kyle Goon from the Salt Lake Tribune. Any of you guys, I know you don't want to look too far ahead, but if San Diego State were to beat Duke, would you guys desire that rematch, or would you look at wanting to maybe take down the number 1 seed?
Sounds like a locker room fodder question to me. You trying to set us up, Gooner? We want to play San Diego State so bad. How's that? No, I mean, it's a no-win. It's impossible to answer. I will say this. Well, number one, you better be careful what you wish for, and both of those teams are tremendous. We talked a lot about rebounding, and I wrote San Diego State on the board because we had a rebounding focus when we went into San Diego State, actually out-rebounded them, which not many teams do. And I wanted our players to remember that kind of focus that we had on the glass, and I said it'd be ironic, but there's a chance if we take care of business here that we would get to play them. But honor to play either one. I'm not going to let any one of these three answer that question. So.
Dirk Facer from Deseret News. Guys, maybe Brandon, Delon, you just talk about what was going through your minds when you fell behind 21-10 and they had made 5 of their first 7 threes. And I think after that point, I'm horrible at math. I think they made 2 of their last 18 threes after that. Was there an emphasis to defend the 3 better, or what went on with that?
I think that's the way basketball goes. If you're hot the first half, chances are you're not going to be, shooting that well in the second half. So our coaches told us to, continue the game plan on the guys that are making shots. They were the guys we, wanted to pretty much. So we just, wanted them to continue shooting the ball because that's not really their games. And, it played out how it did.
We have time for 2 more questions for the student athletes.
Larry, same thing as I asked DeLon. Are you guys at your best, do you think, when DeLon is being as unselfish as he often is, or are there times as a coach where you do have to encourage him to look for his own shot a little bit more?
Well, I think he actually has the knack that's not very coachable in terms of his feel, and he's had a good idea. We were at Kansas, for example, and he kind of put us on his back and brought us back from a 20-point halftime deficit or 22-point deficit, and he attacked, and I think in that game, Kansas was very aware of our shooters, and there was an open lane. He does a really good job. I mean, I think there's times he gets fouled, that we don't get some of those calls. That's the only thing that keeps it from being perfect, but I love having the ball in his hands and pick and roll, specifically against bigger, like tonight. I think the 5 men, that was one of the attacks that we wanted to use, was have our 5-man set pick and rolls and we space the floor and let him go make some plays. And I thought majority of the time he makes the right decision.
One last question for our student athletes.
Kyle Goon, Salt Lake Tribune. For Jakob, I know obviously you had some foul trouble tonight, but is there any sort of satisfaction that comes from seeing Dallin kind of have a comeback game after sitting out the last one?
Well, that's just the beauty of our team. It really doesn't matter who's out there playing. I'm just really glad we got the win tonight. And with our team having 3 5s who can really play at basically any NCAA Division I team, if I'm in foul trouble, I know that Dallin or J.O. is going to come in and step up for us, and it's just great to know and have in the back of your mind.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Congratulations and good luck in the Sweet 16.
Thank you.
I know you guys are anxious to ask Coach some questions, so we'll open it up at this time. Start over there, Kerry.
Okay, Kerry Eggers, Larry from the Portland Tribune. You guys took 38 shots from the field in both of your wins here. Opponents took 30 more shots than you, yet you won both of them. I mean, is it a plan to keep the game slow and like that, or how did you feel about that?
No, to me, it's not ever a plan that we're going to play. Tonight, we did talk about speeding the tempo up and trying to get up and down the floor. I think we're not a high offensive rebounding team, so we probably have less shots than most opponents just based on that fact. But we don't give up any defensive points either. And so we would like to get our guys back to defend in transition. But I think the key is efficiency, Kerry. You offensive points per possession is a stat that we look at, and as Brandon said, we really stress taking good shots. We look at a film after the game, do a defensive edit, an offensive edit, and we grade every one of our shots. And it's something that's tallied and kept in our locker room as the year goes on. There's a 5. We put a value on every shot from 1 to 5, and a 5 is the shot that we're seeking. We don't take many 3s or 2s or 1s. I don't know that those are even part of our. We might take some 4s, shot clock situations and stuff, but it's not a pace thing for us. I think it's kind of trying to take what the defense gives you, and we also end up sometimes, I think, with our style of play, giving up. If our defense is good, there may be a few offensive rebounds to be had, so there's more of a shot volume that way too, but never really plan as far as slowing the game down. I'd like to actually get our guys to play a little bit faster.
Lindsay?
Larry, in the final few minutes of that game, you were being praised on Twitter and on TV for your quick turnaround. Did it feel quick to you over the last few years?
No. The way I got it figured out, it's about 1,500 days. So 1,500 days. It's not, it's nice to hear that, but we were in the middle of something. I think you asked the question earlier about would we ever have imagined we'd be in the Sweet 16. Yeah. Yeah, and I probably would have done the same thing because to answer that question, I guess in my way would be from the very first day I was involved there, the questions were asked is how many games is going to be the goal, what's going to make it a successful year, and that question is constantly asked, and part of our culture with our basketball team, and I just talked to our team post-game about it, is the year that we won 6 games, we approached every practice prepared as though we were going to win a championship, and it's just to grind it out. I've always said you kind of take care of whatever list is on your desk that particular day. You try to fix what's broken, and you wake up the next morning and you do it again, and you do it again, and then after 1,400 days, you hope that the graph is trending upward and you're in a position to make some improvement. And I said that 4 years ago. I've always lived that way as a player in anything that I do. You never want to set lofty goals. I never dreamed of playing in the NBA. I never once talked about it or thought about it until I was there. It was just, I got to figure out a way to get a little bit better each day. And I think our kids have really latched onto that concept. And now we look around and it's like, pinch me. Here we are. And it's been a heck of a process and a fun run with a lot of these guys that have been a part of it.
Kurt Kragsdorf, Salt Lake Tribune. Larry, what enabled your guys to thrive down the stretch tonight in a tight game?
Well, I think it's multifaceted a little bit. Our defense was really good. Smith Rivera is a kid that makes 3 threes a game all year long, and Brandon and our guys, Isaiah DeLon, did a heck of a job. For him to go 0 for 7 from 3, I thought was a key ingredient. They had other guys that stepped up and made threes, but in the scouting report, we weren't hoping they'd make them, but that's how the game started with the 5 threes. There were a couple guys that was kind of what we were giving up. And I told our guys, let's just stay with the game plan. Don't panic. I've been in a lot of games. I actually mentioned it in the timeout that start that way, where you're down 12 points and there gets maybe a little bit of complacency on an opponent's part and a lot of momentum that takes place. And we managed to do that. And it was all based on the fact that we got stops. That was the main thing, I thought. We managed to defend and get out. And, as Kerry mentioned, we were pretty efficient on the offensive end with our percentages. And I think the other thing is you can't overlook when threes start going in, it makes the darn game pretty easy, and all of a sudden Jordan hits one and Brandon hits a couple, and that's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. That's when the score starts to separate a little bit, or we caught up. So I thought we were really efficient to not turn it over more than double-digit times and shooting the percentages. That combined with that defensive effort, I thought was the key.
Larry, the portion that we were able to see.
Name and affiliation,
excuse me,
please.
sorry. Pat Kinahan, the Zone Sports Network, Salt Lake City. The portion of practice that we were in on Monday, it seemed like you were having a lot of positive feedback or communication with your team as they were going through the defensive drills. Was that a calculated message on your behalf to make sure that their confidence was up coming into this tournament?
Well, I always think it's a fine line between confidence and work. I think our kids, after the Las Vegas situation coming off the Oregon game, get a little feel for them, how they respond. The one thing about it, we could win, lose, it doesn't make any difference. And this team, and I told them in the locker room after the game, there's not a team in America that responds this way. And when we had a nice little run and we were ranked in the top 10 in the early part of the season, your fear as a coach is that you're going to show up at practice and everybody's playing grab ass and it's hard to keep them focused. You wouldn't know at any point this season what our record is. And they've come to work start to finish. And I sensed maybe Monday morning we had some daubers that were down a little bit. Plus we had taken a couple days off. We didn't play Saturday. We gave them Sunday off. That we needed a little pick-me-up. It wasn't the end of the world. We didn't play the game against Oregon that we would have wanted. But we still weren't that far away. So that's you know, it's a combination. Sometimes you just have to sense that. Sometimes they need a kick in the butt, and sometimes you need to pick them up and help them out. So at the portion of practice you were there, we were probably in the pick them up mode.
Kevin Pelton, ESPN Insider. Jakob spoke to this, but what kind of luxury is it as a coach to have such depth at the center position to overcome foul trouble there?
Well, it's huge, and we've talked about that since day one with our team. There's a lot of guys that maybe don't play as many minutes as they could be elsewhere. And, you know, you look at Thursday night's game with Stephen F. Austin, we really didn't need a 5. Jakob had a tremendous game, but it was hard to match up against that team because they didn't have a post player. Everybody played on the perimeter, and we had an opportunity to play a little bit smaller. You go into a game like tonight, and I told Dallin about it on Friday. You know, this is a different weight class, this Georgetown team, and we're going to need some big bodies, and it fit perfectly for Dallin. I'm so happy for him to be able to. He sprained his ankle Monday, missed a couple days of practice, didn't play Thursday, and for him to come out, I mean, he was almost our 6th guy in double figures. To have 6 guys, if Dallin could make one more free throw, all of a sudden we've got 6 guys in double figures. And to me, that's kind of the essence of a team, and we've talked about it the entire year, and it's nice to see it kind of come to fruition here at the right time.
Larry, the Pac-12 has sort of been raked over the coals this year. A lot of people think it's a bad league. It's a down year. Now they're 7-0 in the first few days of the tournament. What can something like this do for recruiting nationally for you guys?
Well, I mean, that's a great question, but what else is new? I mean, before I was even a part of this league, I can remember when it was the Pac-10, and I was always involved with that because I was a Western guy, and I knew there was quality opponents. There were years when the Pac-12, you know, was down and out, and then all of a sudden you look up and there's 3 teams in the Elite 8 or, you know, 4 teams in the Sweet 16. So we know the brand of basketball that we play, and oftentimes we're judged on how Arizona and UCLA go. And, you know, this year Arizona's been tremendous, maybe UCLA a little blip, but they've got some things worked out now. And I look at our league and say, okay, we all kind of, other than Arizona this year, a lot of people took turns beating the crap out of each other. That seems to be acceptable in other leagues, and, you know, the strength of schedule and everything just stays elevated. But it validates what we're doing. You know, I don't think we play with a chip on our shoulder. A lot of it's matchups. You got to catch a break at the right time, but it speaks volumes for how our league is, and the fact that we haven't lost games in the NCAA at this point. I think even our teams in the NIT are doing quite well. So we know within that it's a pretty darn good brand of basketball.
Got time for 2 more questions.
Josh Furlong, KSL.com. Larry, it has to be asked, how much sweetgrass are you bringing to the Sweet 16?
Well, I almost got in trouble back there because the smoke alarms got a little carried away tonight. It works in the Huntsman Center because I think all our smoke alarms are broken. But you get into some of these, you know, some of these avenues, and I need to leave it probably at home. I lit it up tonight before the game. It doesn't take much, Josh. It doesn't take much at all.
Kyle Goon, Salt Lake Tribune. I know you're talking about how the sort of that stretch where you guys struggled a little bit was road heavy, neutral court heavy, played some good teams. But do you think that these guys took maybe some lessons from maybe some of those late season struggles and brought it into the tournament this week?
Well, I said that exact thing, you know, the last couple of weeks in our press conferences. I know you've heard it roll off of my tongue. It's, as a coach, you never want to say, I'm glad we won or I'm glad we lost. But the fact of the matter was there was a point in our season, I think we were 23-4, something like that, give or take a game. Don't quote me on it. And then finished the season off 4-4. So, you know, maybe we were 21-4 or something. So as a coach, you always want to keep your guys on edge, and you want to be able to validate. And we've been talking all year long about the little things. And then we go on the road. It was the Washington game that we lost. It was really sloppy and had a different set of errors that we made in that one. The Oregon game was the same kind of scenario. Our home game against Arizona, which we missed a free throw block out and some pretty simple little things, and then finished the game off against Oregon. So I do know that we had our guys' attention. You know, you have to experience those losses and maybe feel some of that pain before you can really clamp down. And I think the last week, even the week leading up to Vegas was good. I mean, I noticed a different focus in our guys' eyes, and they realized because all of a sudden they'd experienced what it felt like when you miss a free throw block out, or they've experienced what it was like when you screwed an end out of bounds play up and it cost you a 3 at Oregon, or, you know, so, okay, there you go. It helps a coach validate those things, and I think I mentioned it to our fellas after Vegas. That's that exact question. I posted in a statement that, you know, there are no little things, and we've made a number of different mistakes over the course of the year. Let's put it together now and play more solid.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks.